what we discussed in Unit 1. Do you know? Unit 1. There was one part of language that is making plans or making plans and expressing intention. But now or today we are talking about making suggestions or advice. We can make suggestion or advice. So let's begin with this, right? Let's begin with this. Somebody has written in chat, Nima's letter to her brother. Exactly, that is the text. And while reading that text, which function of the language we are going to discuss? That is making suggestion or advice, right? So I want to know from your side. I've seen here Rosani Saha. Please try to unmute your voice, and I want to share the screen. Rosani, could you please tell me at what condition we make the suggestion?
No, sir, because I was not there when this class was going on.
Okay, it's okay, it's okay. So now look at this. You need to making suggestions or suggesting and advising, right? We have to, when somebody is in a problem, when somebody is in need of help, at that time we have to make or we have to give suggestion to that person from our side. The suggestion is the way to help them, right? So there are certain structures of making suggestions. We can give suggestions to those people who are in need of help, when they have certain problems, when they need to do something else, some urgency is with them. At that time we could suggest them, but making suggestion does not mean to force them to do that, right? Making suggestion is giving them options. We gave them the options. The options, help them to choose which one to do or which one not to do. Just for example, if we fail in the exam, if somebody comes and tells you that, why don't you join the tuition class? It means your friend or relative or anybody else who has been making this statement, whoever is making this sentence, is not forcing you, right? Is not forcing you to join the tuition. Simply, you may be doing something else. Your friend or relative or somebody else is just, there is an option, showing the option, there is the option. You could join the tuition too. That is what we call the suggestions. So I'm talking unit 2. Unit 2 is a letter, right? So we will talk about that part of letter later, right? So this sort of text is asked in question number 2. This is question number 2, always asked in question number 2 under reading section. First number question, poem. Second number question, syntax. These parts are, items are selected and these items are asked. Be careful, right? And the question patterns might be of 2 plus 3 plus 5 or 3 plus 3 plus 4 Might be, but exactly that comes of 10 marks, right? And what type of questions will be asked? Writing true false statement, right? Sentence order, match word meaning, completing table, filling the filling the gaps, and answer question. These sort of things will be asked for 10 marks. So this thing that I'm going to discuss today, that's not for 10 marks. 10 marks, that Nima's letter to her brother, that article, syntax. Today, what I'm talking, this is for 1 mark only, but it is language function, and it helps us to, communicate with people very easily. So we are talking about language function today, and after this, we'll enter to that later section. So look at this. There are many structures. Look at there. These are the structures, many structures, right? What about going to, and we put verb, action verb, and object, and that is suggestion. That means that suggestion helps us to find out the options, because we might not have known that part. For example, one thing I'd like to tell you, you lost your book at a school. Let's take an example. And then you have not found. You are searching everywhere in your home. At the meantime, your father finds you searching something, and at the meantime, father makes suggestion. What about going to school and search in the classroom, right? Or what about going to your study room? Maybe you are not searching in your study room, right? So this is how the suggestion is made. Look at there. How about going? Why don't we go? Couldn't we? Right? So this is the thing. When we use there, why don't we go? Means if we are two, right? If we are two, suppose we have a problem. We have confusion. Confusion to watch a movie. There are two movies going on in the same movie hall. And then which one to choose? At that time, we may use that, why don't we go to, or why don't we go for that movie? Means we'll give there one name, right? Any name of the movie. Just for example, why don't we go for one movie name? You can give just Robot 2.0. This is the name of the movie, right? This is how these structures are used. And other structures, shall we? What would you say to? Don't you think it is a good idea to? Does it matter if we do something else? See these parts. How these structures make the, advice. So these structures could be used to make advice. Look at here. There are many more, structures, and some of the structures, that are not included in this slide. I would tell at that time you have to write down, okay? Because I have not written all these structures here. So these are the structures. So many structures you could see. And then if you go there and you can use other examples, other structures. If I or you. See the things. That is structure I have not written there. If I or you. Then I would do da da da. That means, suppose, as I've already given you one instant, one event, right? That you lost your book and you were searching in your home. And your father saw it the meantime. And at that time, your father suggests you, right? Like this. If I were you, I would make contact or I would ask my friends. See, this is another part. Or simply we can say, you'd better ask your friends. See the thing, you'd better ask your friends. What do you think about asking your friends? These are the structures, other structures. So there are many structures, many more parts. How we make, right, the suggestions. And I've taken some examples from the text also. In that letter, in unit 2, the letter is prescribed there for us, that Nima's letter to her brother. And in fact, in that letter, she makes suggestions and she advises her brother for certain improvement. Especially, let's say, she advises her brother to improve English by following the certain conditions, certain steps. So, see there, what type of suggestions are given? And see here, what type of structures are given? I've not used most of the structures that are used in the textbook. These are from the textbook. I've given extra one. The structures given in the textbook, you could read, you could find, right? So look, and then these are the examples taken from the textbook. I've taken from that letter. This suggestion, this advice is made, right? You should always try to communicate in English. So we can make this, you should ... This would be one structure, right? And then, why don't you buy a radio for yourself and listen English programs? See the thing, this letter, this suggestion, this suggestion made me understand that this letter was written in the past time, when there was not easy access to television, when there was not easy access to internet. For these days, right? For these days, hardly people buy radio. These days, people buy mobile, laptop, television, right? These things. And we could learn a lot of English, right? Through internet, mobile, certain devices. So it has suggested that why don't you buy a radio for yourself and listen English programs? As you listen to a new word, you ought to repeat it. Sometimes you may be talking, or you are talking to your friends, teachers, relatives, or anybody else. When you listen the new word at the time, you need to pick out that word and use it in your own sentence. Repeat it. This helps you to improve your English. So look at this. The very second unit of your book is talking about importance of English language. We need to use English language. We have to improve our English language. See, simply learning the words does not help us. We need to learn different things. But I have not made other examples, right? I simply give examples from book. We could say here that why this is given. Why don't you buy a radio and listen? Listen means you listen the pronunciation, how the utterances are made, how the words are uttered, pronounced. That is fundamental part in speaking. Whatever the language we are speaking, it must be clear, it must follow the correct pronunciation. Otherwise, it might bring the confusions, conflicts. So we need to be very much careful about using the language. So the fourth example is you had better buy a good English dictionary and use it. Using dictionary is one of the suggestions. Look at that. Nima gave 4 options here to her brother to improve English. And there are many other options, right? Many other options. We can give other suggestions, right? So at the meantime, I'd like to, right, just to improve English, I want to go to Miss Pragya Subedi. Could you please unmute your sound?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, very good. Don't bother about that letter. Whatever is written in that letter, right? Simply you have to suggest us one option of improving English. What others can we do? What else can we do more than this to improve our English? Please share with us.
We can practice English.
Please use the structure given before. Any structure. One structure, just you could see, you could take help of this slide that I have been, displaying here.
You should try to find out some new English words in the dictionary.
Wow, great. This is great idea. Thank you very much. So let me proceed on then. Look at this, other examples, right? Other examples I've given here, right? How about talking to the foreign tourists? Foreign tourists, especially who visit to our area. And suppose here is one word that is written in that book, textbook, therefore I have not changed it, right? I have not changed that. I have made different color at the third point in this slide. Do you see the color different? And this different color means I have used this idea, right? How about starting a group for English learners? Only English learners, right? This is my suggestion. Others, black color sentences are extracted from the text. That one more suggestion, likewise, you can add as many as you can, right? You can use, there are many more structures. I believe I gave you 9-10 structures, and more than that, other structures are here. And I have used one structure here, as I told, if I were you, I would do that thing, right? I would ask my friends, right? Previously, I talked to this, and this structure is given in your book, and those structures are not repeated. Different structures I have used here. So, and final example I gave from my side to improve our English. How could we improve our English? That's simply, how about starting a group for English learners? Or we can say, let's form a club, or simply say, let's form an English club. Or we can make that, why don't we claim our school English speaking zone? These are the structures. These are the examples we can make while, talking about suggestions. Well, we have to speak certain, examples. We need to be very much aware of the structures, right? So now, how do we accept the suggestions then? Sometimes we do not like that suggestion. Sometimes we, accept the suggestions. There are suggestions. People make different kinds of suggestions for us. It is not necessary for us to follow that or apply all that suggestions in our life. Some suggestions might not be applicable to us. there may be certain factors. Due to those factors, we might not apply those suggestions, right? Just for example, we are having online class right now, right? We are having online class right now. If somebody said or suggested someone who is not at the reach of electricity or the device or internet, and then if we say, why don't you start joining the online class, at that time that suggestion might not be applicable to that person. At that time the suggestion would be refused, and we can refuse that also, we can accept that also. And why I'm talking that refusing suggestions and accepting suggestions here, because we have to make dialogue sometimes, we have to compose conversations sometimes, right? And writing dialogue or that guided writing, that comes for 5 marks, that comes later. We would be discussing in that total grid, based on the grid. And my dear children, you have to be very much careful about that. When I'm taking the class, this means I am basing different things, total curriculum as well as examination point of view, how the questions are set, how we should answer them, and what are the patterns of the questions, what are the possible areas of making questions. So be careful about these things. I'm incorporating the things, right? I'm including all these things together. Look, if somebody suggests, and yes, I'd like to. So if you suggest somebody else, why don't you start joining online class? At that time, if accepts, then says, yes, I'd like to. That means I want to join. I love to. This is how we make. So these are other forms. That why not? Look at last, right? Why not? That means agree. If somebody says, right? If you are not listening my voice clearly, please inform to me. This is one, right? This is one suggestion. So then, why not? Sure. This is how we accept. And after accepting, how do we reject then? What type of structures do we use to reject the advice then? So, refusing, you may look this is also accepting. So I could not hold it for long, right? So I just showed you, you could get this slide, this PowerPoint in your link to. I believe you're getting previous slides and you are enjoying previous slides too. And this one, look, and refusing, if you do not like it, if you do not want to apply that, at that time we could say, well, I'd rather, means there is another option. If somebody says, why don't you join our online class, live online class? So at that time, if there is no internet access at the moment of the class time, right? That time one could say, well, I would rather view in YouTube later, or well, I would rather view it in offline video. See the things, it will come in YouTube offline video. That is how we can reject. But that seems, that seems positive, but it is rejecting, right? Refusing. So these are the parts, these are the options. So look, what an awful or bad idea. Awful, look there, awful means that is very, very surprising, not imagined, not favorable here, right? So these are the typical structures. My dear children, when we go to the text, we may not get these parts, accepting, rejecting, suggestions. I have given you additional information here. But when we are talking about these things, I feel it's better to continue, or it's better to add these informations here so that you could have complete knowledge on making suggestions or advice, along with refusing or accepting. So be careful. I've given you extra information too. So if you have certain problems, please feel free to ask me. Okay. So other ideas. Look. So the last structure I'm going to talk there. Keen on. Keen on. Keen means deep interest. The the deepest, or that the depth of our interest, strong interest. See the thing, but there is a not, and in that bracket you could see plus ing. When we use phrase keen on, keen is the verb, on is preposition. This is prepositional phrase, and we could find that phrase, then we use before form. I'm not very keen on joining online class, right? This is how we have to discuss. So from my side, my dear children, this is what I talked to you. I made a light discussion. This is light discussion, and I tried to give you information, and I tried to make you clear about the structures of making suggestion or advice. And on the basis of that, that second unit is designed. Throughout that unit, we have to discuss whether letters or stories or articles or anything else. But there comes the structure of making suggestions or advice. So I must give you time right now. This is my final slide. And if anyone has confusion regarding the slides, you could get in your link as well as school's Mount View channel. Like, you will get there. So I'd like to stop my screen sharing and we'll have discussion. Okay, my dear children. And if you have any confusion, please let me know. I want to see chat first. Yeah. Sorry, example of do you fancy? Yeah, fancy means think. Simply, it's a think, fancy, good looking. Yeah, somebody here has written the meaning, good looking, stylish. Somebody has written, right? So if some Anurag Ghimiri is asking for the meaning, your friends are answering there, right? Anything else? Yes, you might have heard, fancy store. Fancy means very, very decorative, very, very attractive, fancy and fancy. This is how we have to think. Any confusion? Anurag, Anurag, if he is asking for the example of that structure, are you asking the example of that structure, Anurag?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please tell me first from your.
Do you fancy?
Do you fancy means do you imagine? And then you can make imagine any verb there you have to use, Do you imagine it's good, right? Do you imagine it's good to take that option? Just I made. Do you fancy? Is it possible? How do you think? I'm asking you, Anurag.
Oh, that the voice is not clear, sir.
Oh, you haven't got. Is anyone listen? I think Pralon Basnet.
Yes, sir.
Did you get the question of Anurag Ghimire?
Yes.
There is a structure. Do you fancy ... Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you construct one sentence there?
Do you fancy going to mall to buy new clothes?
Yes, this is how we can make. Okay, Anurag, did you get? Anyone? Any more ideas? If not, then I have to ask you certain structure, and you have to make a sentence. Okay, my dear children, for your assignment, I'll give you in your Google Doc. Okay, Google Classroom. About the submission of assignment, I've already given you tips, so I don't want to repeat that. If anyone missed yesterday's class, please feel free to ask me. Okay, so now I'd like to go to Mr. Jana Dungana. If you are listening, please tell me give me one suggestion. Right? I missed maths class.
I missed maths class.
Yes, suggest me. What can I do then?
Uh, how about contacting the maths teacher on your
Thank
phone?
you very much. Thank you very much. It's wonderful idea. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Stay healthy, stay safe, and hopefully you'll join next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody.